everyone, and welcome to Quality Shot. I'm Venu, and Fizan's with me today to review the second day of the first Test match between Sri Lanka and England. How are you doing, Fizan?
Yeah, I'm good. It is the third day. You're right. So don't worry. It is the third day. We've done the first and second day.
Oh, it's the third day.
Yeah.
I think the first day is that's completely gone out of my memory.
Yeah, it's all right.
Sri Lanka's poor performance with the bat, but
Yeah.
I must say, better performance by Sri Lanka with the bat today after a masterclass from Joe Root. A fantastic innings from Joe Root to hit his fourth 200 plus score. I think only Wally Hammond and Alistair Cook are the only England players with more 200 plus scores. And next innings from Joe Root. Wouldn't you agree, Fizan?
Yeah, fantastic innings. Very controlled. I don't think he really, from what I've seen and what I saw, I don't think he gave a single chance. I don't remember him being dropped anyway. So I think for me, it was a very, very good innings from Joe Root. Very impressive. And as we alluded to yesterday, he overtook Kevin Peterson's record of 151 not out as the highest score from an Englishman in Sri Lanka. And he capitalized even more today from being 168 not out overnight, and then went on and dominated and started playing a lot more aggressively, which we saw because that's how he got out, coming down the track to the spinner and holding out to, I think it was a cow corner. But they started putting people on the boundary because he just thought, I think once he got past 200, he was thinking, let's get runs as quickly as possible here so that we can try and make sure we get a result. And yeah, just incredible knock. I can't speak highly enough of it. And the reason why is because we know Joe Root as being someone who doesn't have a particularly good conversion rate in terms of, you said yesterday he didn't get a single 100 last year in Test cricket. But I think this is a massive knock for him to set the tone for the rest of the year potentially. So let's see. But I think this could be a big year for him, especially in away conditions as well. So 2-2-8, unbelievable knock from him. And yeah, I just think he'll be really happy with that personally anyway.
Yeah, he looked really comfortable. He looked comfortable from start to finish. He looked very relaxed on the crease. Like there wasn't Sri Lanka, they couldn't find a way to get him out. And he was very quick to assess the ball in terms of the length of the ball, and he played spin so well. And he just basically he swept. He played a sweep shot so well, and it featured much of his innings was a sweep shot. And he, if the Sri Lanka players put a sweeper fine, he will still hit a 4. And it's interesting. CricViz have suggested that Root's innings had contained more sweeps than any other Test innings for which data exists. So that shows how well used a sweep. Root, wouldn't you agree, Fizan?
Yeah, 100%. He loves the sweep, doesn't he? And he has different variations to them. So he doesn't utilize the reverse sweep as much, but he will sometimes. I think when he's more confident, he will. But he used the sweep and also the paddle sweep, which he used really effectively. And I think it was Duncan Fletcher said, I think it was Rob Key or Nasser Sain on commentary said that Duncan Fletcher said you can sweep pretty much every delivery from a spinner. If in different ways, right? So the paddle sweep is for different lengths and lines, and you use your normal sweep. You've got your slog sweep and their reverse sweep. So there's lots of different ones, and that's something that he seems to be very comfortable with. Towards the end of his innings, he started using his feet more and coming down the pitch, and I thought it was a really, really impressive knock from him, and a masterclass in how to use a sweep as well, for sure, and how to play spin, I think.
What makes him better than his England counterparts in terms of playing the sweep, you think? What makes him better than not?
So he really does get low. His timing's very good. I just think in terms of he plays it at the right time as well, and you don't see too many of the other England players playing the paddle sweep. I just think he's very selective. He does go down, but he makes sure that he goes down when it's a low risk ball. So it's a ball where he's probably thinking to himself, for example, if it's outside off stump and he gets down early, then it negates the spin and there's no chance of LBW. And as long as he times the sweep and gets down, early enough, then the top edge is out of the equation as well. So I think that's probably why Jack Khalid, actually, just on the top of my head, like he played a sweep when he was in, and it went for 4. But if you see the sweep he played, when he played it, he went down a little bit too early, so it was uppish, if that makes sense. It went for 4. The timing was quite good still, but if you see Root, most of the time when he swept, it was along the floor, pretty much the whole way after hitting the shot. So even in T20 cricket, I saw him for Yorkshire last year, and he just loves sweeping the ball, and it's something that obviously he is comfortable with. Some players are more comfortable playing the sweep than others. Like personally, I don't play the sweep too much. I've tried to develop it a little bit in my own game, but I'm more trying to use my feet, as you know, and he used his feet quite a lot as well, I thought. So he's just, for me, especially in tourney conditions like Sri Lanka, there's always been this thought that Asian players play spin better than like the rest of the world. The subcontinent play it better because clearly they're in spinning conditions. But in England, and especially someone like Joe Root, I think he's been exposed to so many different conditions now, and they've become so innovative in the way they're playing. And Joe Root is that class above, that it doesn't matter any condition, he can score runs, and he showed that today.
Yeah, a masterclass by the England captain, and a long time coming, that's for sure. In his own words, when he spoke to the media after. So fair play to Joe Root, but I think England will be disappointed for Fizan, because at one point they were 3-7-2 for 4. The Butler got out, and then they were all up for 4-2-1. So they lost nearly 7 wickets for 50 odd runs. That's a collapse. Wouldn't you say, Fizan? That just shows the fragility of England's middle order, and that's something that is a weakness for England, especially with no Ben Stokes in there.
Yeah, I think maybe I guess they're mid to lower order, isn't it? Because Dan Lawrence scored 73 odd, and Josh Butler got 30.
Yeah, but after that,
yeah, so they're lower order, I guess you could say, and then going into the tail was, yeah, it was poor. And you're right. What happened is that first wicket that got Butler, which was a very good ball, by the way. I thought Asitha Fernando, he had that little burst, and that's why I talked about that yesterday, and you did as well. And we said that if you can just bring the seamers in for a couple of overs to run in bowl quick, like Mark Wood did it for England in the first innings, and also did it in the second innings as well for Sri Lanka, and hit Kusal Perera and ran in and bowled quick. Asitha Fernando has a little bit of pace about him. He's got a little bit about him, gets a bit of movement off the surface as well. I think he's a good operator. And the ball that he bowled to Josh Butler was a really good, typical test wicket. Bowling that kind of really good 4-stump line, got a little bit of nip, and Josh Butler just nicked behind. And there's a lot to be said for, of course, spin is going to be the dominating factor in these test matches, but the seamers can have an effect in short bursts, and he did. And then the ball to get Sam Curran out, first ball Sam Curran comes in and he bowls him a Yorker. It's just a quality delivery by Asitha Fernando, a great ball. And Sam Curran's probably thinking he's very unlucky there, but Asitha Fernando's just bowled him an absolute peach. So a really good ball. And Dom Best got out for a duck as well. I don't know if the run out was farcical. So he was backing up.
Village. That was Village.
Yeah,
wasn't
it was really Village. So it was his call. So I'm pretty sure he called yes, and then he was like, oh, and Root already committed, because Root's like, I'm not going to wait around like midway, and he's in as well. So and he'd already called yes, Dom Best, and then Dom Best is like, oh, stuttering, and then by the time he's got there, he's stranded. So that was a really bizarre one. So a duck for Sam Curran, and then duck for Dom Best, and then Jack Leach, as I said, hit that one sweep, but apart from that, nothing from him. And Mark Wood got out trying to sweep as well, and got out for 2. Stuart Broad looked good whilst he was in, 11 off 13. He got a little bit lucky. So one was a pull shot, he played quite well, and then I think the ball after, he top-edged one over the keeper. But he clearly is being quite aggressive. I was a little bit surprised about the order of Jack Leach, Mark Wood, Stuart Broad, because I would have thought it'd be Stuart Broad, Jack Leach, Mark Wood, or Stuart Broad, Mark Wood, Jack Leach even. But I don't think it makes too much of a difference. But the lower order definitely let them down, and they didn't wag. And we talked about this in other videos. For example, Australia's tail seems to wag a lot, and it does make a big difference. And I think here, if it had wagged even a little bit and it gives them that extra 30 runs, 450, it makes a big difference. So I think Sri Lanka took momentum from that for sure. And I was really impressed with how they cleaned up the tail, to be honest with you personally.
Yeah, and then they cleaned up the tail, and then they took that momentum into when they batted. And it was a really good 100-run partnership between Kusa Pereira and Hiru Tiraman. And really controlled innings by Tiraman. And a good fight back from Sri Lanka. Wouldn't you agree, Fizan?
Yeah, 100%. I was really impressed with Sri Lanka. And I said this to you yesterday, the top 6 are experienced. And, I know as a Sri Lankan fan, you are thinking, and I was thinking a little bit, can they get that big score in a second innings at Gaul, which is really, those type of innings are a dime a dozen, right? In Gaul, especially for second innings when it's turning so much as the days go on. But Kusal Pereira is a class act. The only thing I'm a little bit disappointed with, and he did this on the South Africa tour as well, a couple of 50s, but just not converting.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's got to convert. He's too good to not be going on. And it reminds me, obviously, Root scored a really big one here, but last year Root had that similar issue. He was scoring a lot of 50s, but he wasn't scoring hundreds. And Kusal Pereira seems to be in that little gap. And it's not a massive issue because he's still scoring runs and he's scoring good runs. But I think it's a case of once you're in, he's missing opportunities to capitalize and go big. And that would have really helped Sri Lanka. So that was a little bit disappointing, I think, for me. But Tiramani looked really solid as well. 76 runs from 189 balls, a bit slower, but looked really good. And he needs to stand up because Karunaratne normally does that role very well. And he's come in for him. So he's done a good job. And Kusal Mendez, no duck for him, no 5th duck in a row for him. I thought maybe it might be his day. Maybe he might go on and get a 50, but it wasn't to be 15 for him. But I'm sure he'll take a little bit of confidence from that. And they've still got now So Embaldini came in as a night watchman, and they've got Tiramani, and they've still got Chandimal, Angelo Matthews, Dickwella, Shanaka, and Hasaranga. I'll put there as well. So they've got, let's say they've got at least 4 decent batsmen to come after to give it a hit.
So they trail England by 130 runs. So if Sri Lanka can, get to that deficit and then maybe get 150 lead, that's probably what they're looking for, or even 200 if they're back really, really well. That's going to make it really difficult for England tomorrow. And so I think England are looking to get some quick wickets, especially get Tiramani out because he's a set batsman. But I think Sri Lanka looking to bat round Tiramani and hopefully he gets like a big score like Joe Root did. And we could be in for an interesting end to the test match. Do you agree, Fizan?
Yeah, 100%. I think I said this to you before that I would, if they can go big and if they can get a lead of around 150, 170, so that's a total of 450 they need to get. And at the moment they're 156 for 2. So they've still got a little way to go to get that 450, which I think they'll be looking for at least 450, right? And they've got a set batsman in Tiramani, so they want him to go big. They want him to get 100.
And they've got time as well.
Yeah, they've got time, 100%, and they've got the players to do it. Everyone's going to have to chip in a little bit. We said this before yesterday that you need, I think you said they'll need at least 2 people to go really big, or potentially like 3 or 4 people to get, 70, 80, 100 runs basically. They're going to have to chip in. Everyone's going to chip in a little bit. So I'm sure they can do that. It's just a case of once they cut the deficit, hopefully to 0. At the moment, they're trailing by 130 runs. I think they'll take confidence from that as well, and they'll think, okay, look, we can build a lead here now. Especially if they haven't lost, another wicket, or if they've only lost 1, they'll probably be thinking, you know what, we can do this, and we can build a solid lead. Because I tell you what, it's going to be difficult if they put on 150 lead plus. It's not going to be easy for England to chase that in the second innings in Gaul that's what historically it tells you. They've got the spinners to do it, Sri Lanka. So let's see. This could end up being a very interesting test match when it looked like it might be dead and buried. And I think a lot of credit has to go to Sri Lanka for how they played day 3 of this test match, because they've really given themselves a chance in this test match for sure.
I agree, Fazan. They could have easily, be deflated after how day 1 went with that batting display. They could have easily given up the test match, but they've shown some fight, which is really good to see. And I think day 3, you would say, is Sri Lanka's day. So well done to Sri Lanka for that. But England are definitely still in the driving seat.
Yeah, 100% England in the driving seat, but Sri Lanka have the momentum, I would say. And they'll be happy with that, right?
They've given themselves a glimmer.
Yeah, fighting chance, isn't it? Yeah,
a fighting 100%. Chance. And you never know of the weather in Sri Lanka. You never know. So I'm going to be intrigued. I'll definitely be tuning in tomorrow to watch because I think it's going to be a really interesting day's play. It will determine the outcome of this test match. That's for sure. Everything from you, Fazan, or is that?
Yeah, I think everything from me. Do I have anything else to touch upon? No, I just think it was really good to see. I think this day has been the most competitive out of the 3, and Sri Lanka coming back strong, showing some really good resilience, as we've said. And I'm really looking forward to day 4, because if they don't lose a wicket in the first session, then we're really talking here. We're talking like, okay, Sri Lanka might be able to make a big fight of this. If they lose 1, then I think they're not in a great position. And obviously if they lose more than that, in a very bad position. But Tiramane is going to be key now because he's in. And if he can stay in, and obviously if the night watchman goes, that's not a big issue. But if he can then help Chandama, Angelo Matthews, whoever it is in next, and tick along with them, so that you don't want 2 new batsmen at the crease, basically, as a Sri Lankan fan. You want a set batsman to be able to help the other one out. Yeah, exactly, 100%. So let's see. I'm fingers crossed. I'm hoping for a really big day 4.
Yeah, me too. And I'm also glad today's by Sri Lanka's performance, their fight back, and I think it kind of put to rest some commentators in the media saying that Sri Lanka, that Test cricket's now composed of like two leagues. We've got the top 4 and the bottom 4, and I think the performance today has kind of put that to rest. Sri Lanka can still perform against the big boys, and I think that was good to see. Wouldn't you agree, Fazan?
Yeah, 100%. I think I'm not a fan of this whole 2-league business, and I think Sri Lanka is showing. And I said this to you, that it might have taken them a little bit of time to get used to playing someone of this level, and they have now stepped up to the challenge. And who knows? We'll see how the rest of the test match goes. But if I was a betting man, which I'm not, but I'm sure in the second test as well, we'll see a competitive test from day 1, I would assume as well, because I think Sri Lanka would have learned from their lessons. It looks like they have, hopefully, especially batting-wise. So let's see how they go. But a big day, I think, of Test cricket tomorrow. So let's see how it goes. Let's see some big runs from Sri Lanka, and hopefully set up a really big day 5. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, we all want to see a competitive test match that goes into day 5. That's all we want, don't we? So thank you for being on, Fazan.
No problem. Thanks very much for having me on and hosting me, Vanu.
No problem. And thank you for watching, everyone. Please remember to like and subscribe to Fazan's Quality Shot channel. And so that's our review of day 3 wrapped up, and we'll see you tomorrow when we review day 4.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll have a special guest on.
Who's the special guest? Kumar Sangakkara.
Kumar Sangakkara. Yeah, you have to wait. It might not be Kumar Sangakkara, so maybe temper your expectations.
Maybe someone, probably Russell Arnold.
Russell Arnold. Yeah. No, he's a good commentator. I like him. But yeah, thanks very much, Ronnie.
No problem. Bye.